This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Chamber's 2022 State Legislative Kickoff Press Conference. This event is presented today by our awesome Ultimate Partners, Dubuque Bank and Trust, Hotel Julian Dubuque, Medical Associates Clinic and Health Plans, Midwest One Bank, Q Casino, and the TH Media. Let's give them a virtual round of applause. Yay! And also today's event sponsors, our Platinum Partners, help to support our advocacy efforts. A big thank you to Anderson Window and Door, Cartograph, Collins Community Credit Union, Digital Dubuque, Envision, Fidelity Bank, Forge Social, Grand River Center, the Holiday Inn, John Deere Dubuque Works, Mercy One, Stonehill Communities, Town Square Media, Unity Point Healthcare, Finley Hospital, and U.S. Bank. Another virtual round of applause for our sponsors who help make events like this possible. Today, you're going to be hearing from our amazing board chair, Scott Souza, who is the president of the Freedmen Group Assured Partners, as well as a handful of member businesses to help introduce our state legislative agenda to the public and our membership. You'll hear about workforce, economic development, and the burden of regulations and taxes on our business community. After their brief remarks, we will have time for Q&A until 12:30, when we will head into our legislative forum with our legislative representatives. But before that, it is my distinct pleasure right now to introduce our board chair, the president of the Freedmen Group Assured Partners, the one and only Mr. Scott Souza. Scott.
Thank you, Molly. Thanks for those kind remarks. My hope is to give everyone a sense of the past year as far as advocacy work is concerned, and the outlook of 2022 before handing it over to our business leaders to share their own perspectives and their stories. As we look back on 2021, the Chamber put significant time and effort in revitalizing our Business Advocacy Council, BAC as we like to refer to it. We more than doubled the membership and ensuring diverse representation from all the sectors of the economy that the Chamber works with. While this work was going on, we still fought on behalf of our members every day. You have to remember, we are a member-driven organization. We led the charge to stop a harmful rule change from the Office of Management and Budget, and that would have downgraded Dubuque's metropolitan status. We successfully fought back against anti-development policies that would have made local economic development through the use of TIF more difficult. Now, as we look forward to 2022, there's so much more work to be done. As we all know, workforce is the #1 issue facing business. You cannot talk to any employer today that doesn't bring that topic up, the topic of workforce. This issue existed before the pandemic, it was exacerbated by it, and it will persist beyond it. In the coming years, it'll be up to us to work towards solutions that make Dubuque an attractive place to live, work, and play. The state must continue to make significant investments in talent development, work to reduce barriers to employment, and keep Iowa a workplace for all who wish to live here. The Chamber will also aggressively work to promote economic development, investing in cultural vibrancy of our communities, and work to assist in pulling down infrastructure funding. Lastly, we'll work to reduce the regulatory burden on business, including support for reforms to the 3-tier alcohol system that's added additional burden to the hospitality industry. And quite frankly, that might be the most heavily impacted sector during the pandemic. We continue to stress that we're a member-driven organization, a pro-business organization. We'll continue to reach across the aisles to our elected officials to work for our members. With that, I'm going to hand things over to Mason Hullerman of Tucker Freight Lines. Tucker Freight Lines is a great growing business, fast growing business here in Dubuque. And Mason's going to discuss the workplace challenges in detail. Mason?
Thank you very much. As he said, my name is Mason Hollerman. I am the education manager for Tucker Freight Lines here in Dubuque. Prior to the pandemic, I have not seen a monthly unemployment under 5% since February of 2014. Since February 2021, we've returned to unemployment below 5%, but Iowa engagement in the workforce is at its lowest since the 1980s. Iowa's growing need for a workforce is unsustainable, as the only state in the union that has not doubled their population since the early 1900s. It is incumbent on us to compete globally for talent, welcome new Iowans to the communities, and support the programs that invest in training and retaining our talent. We here at Tucker have run into the hurdle of finding qualified help both in office as well as drivers and technicians. With drivers, we hit a roadblock, not being able to hire under the age of 21 due to us being on multiple state borders. Drivers are not allowed to cross state borders when they're under the age of 21. This is something we're hoping will be addressed at the federal level. With office staff and technicians, we are running into people that do not have any supply chain education or experience. We feel that to truly be successful, we must focus on investing in talent development, such as increased funding for community college programming. The Chamber supports funding for the Future Ready Iowa program, additional funding for programs that support training at our community colleges, K-12 schools, and institutions of higher education. We also support efforts to improve access and affordability to childcare and call on the state to invest in placemaking projects that can attract and retain talent. Lastly, we urge our legislators to oppose any anti-workforce policies that just seek to exclude Iowa's legacy of welcoming any and all who wish to call this great state home. I'll now hand the mic over to Tara Dugan, President of McDermott Excavating, to discuss challenges and opportunity in economic development.
Thanks, Mason. The Chamber works hard to grow our local economy and foster a sense of opportunity, but this work cannot be accomplished without the support of the state. Development incentives that help bridge the financial gap for many projects are the key to economic development strategy of the state. These programs show a positive return on investment, and regardless of tax changes, credits and incentives will still be necessary to drive robust growth and development into the future. In addition to these incentives, we believe it is imperative that the state continue to invest in infrastructure and consider innovative new approaches to support culturally vibrant local economies across Iowa. As an excavating company that installs sewer and water lines, electric and fiber optic, all of our best work is buried. Many times, infrastructure and utilities are overlooked when evaluating potential development. The number of jobs created by a new business or housing units added are easy to quantify and support, but I encourage our legislators to also consider the less exciting aspects that also have a great impact on the attractiveness and sustainability of our community. Initially, the upgrading of existing and installation of new services provides a lot of opportunity and job security for local residents and business owners. Without this investment, jobs and businesses leave. Already, employees in this industry are increasingly having to travel to other regions to find work when there aren't enough projects in Dubuque. But our crews don't want to work on an interchange in Rockford, Illinois. They want to contribute to the success of their own community. It might surprise you to hear how often these crews drive through town on the weekend with their kids and proudly tell them that they helped grade that parking lot at the Q Casino, or that they hauled hundreds of tons of rocks to a local ball field. The tradespeople of Dubuque County want to continue to work on exciting local development projects, but we need our state legislators to continue to help us attract those projects to our community. In addition, progress attracts progress. Investing in reliable and high-capacity utility systems doesn't just benefit current residents and businesses. It's appealing to future developers. Projects like the B Branch that address stormwater and environmental issues while resulting in beautiful green space and recreational areas, give Dubuque an edge over other areas that haven't taken on such innovative projects that both create beauty and real-world sustainable results. The Chamber calls on the state to reinvest in placemaking that reinforces the narrative that Iowa and Dubuque is a cool, vibrant place to live, work, and play. We also look forward to working with business leaders and officials to pull down infrastructure funding to support our regional competitiveness, and we will fight tirelessly to protect and enhance economic development incentives that show a return on investment and benefit everyone in the community. Now I'm going to hand over the mic to Michael Clausen, our final business leader of Dubuque Bank and Trust, to discuss regulation and taxes.
Thanks, Tara. According to a 2017 study by the National Business Association, the average small businesses face approximately $12,000 a year in regulatory costs associated with running their business. For startups, that cost can be nearly 7 times higher, averaging more than $80,000 in the first year. The Chamber believes it is integral for government to continually look for ways to reduce obstacles for businesses to run their company and meet the dynamic need of a global marketplace. The Chamber supports efforts to reduce the individual tax rate at the state level and hope they also look to address our corporate tax rate, which ranks 46th in the country. We also urge the legislature to revisit the 3-tier alcohol system that impacts the efficiency of restaurateurs and the hospitality industry. As the industry hit hardest by the difficulties of the pandemic, this regulatory relief will be a blessing to those who have fought so hard to stay afloat. And now I'll hand it back over to Chamber President Molly Grover for closing remarks.
Thanks so much, Mike. First, I want to thank all of our speakers today for being here with us, part of this important press conference. Such compelling stories. That's what it's about. It's the stories that make these policies relevant in our business community. We all have to embrace and consider in the year ahead, particularly our legislators as you head to Des Moines, to advocate for pro-growth policies on behalf of the communities that you serve. Before we get into the Q&A, I just want to again thank our ultimate sponsors who present this event: Dubuque Bank and Trust, Hotel Julian Dubuque Medical Associates, Clinic and Health Plans, Midwest One Bank, Q Casino, and TH Media. And a last shout out to our event sponsors, the Platinum Level sponsors, Anderson Window and Door, Cartograph, Collins Community Credit Union, Digital Dubuque, Envision, Fidelity Bank, Forge Social, and Grand River Center, Holiday Inn, John Deere Dubuque Works, Mercy One, Stonehill Franciscan Services, Town Square Media, Unity Point Healthcare, Finley Hospital, and US Bank. Now with that, we'd like to open up to questions from the media. Please make sure to state your name, the outlet, and clearly ask your question, and we will do our best to address your questions.
Hello, Molly. Ben Fisher here with the Telegraph Herald.
Hi there, Ben. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. A couple of times, you all have mentioned the 3-tier alcohol system and how that's harmed, local hospitality. Could you unpack that a little bit more? In what way does the current system, hold back that sector that's been hit so hard? But also, what's the proposal to, clean that up?
Thank you for asking that question, Ben. So we did mention the 3-tier alcohol system. We've been working very closely with our hospitality industry and our restaurants, and there are various classes. I'm here.
Because of all department heads.
Please make sure to mute yourself if you're not asking a question.
The various classes of alcohol systems have presented an additional administrative burden. Anytime you add additional burden or regulation onto businesses for far too long, that it results in increased costs and increased burden that puts our businesses at a competitive disadvantage. When you also look at the hospitality industry, specifically restaurants, being the hardest hit during the pandemic, there was induced shutdowns early on. So a presentation by the Iowa Restaurant Association indicated that as much as 15% of Iowa restaurants, or more than 800 establishments, were permanently closed their doors in Iowa over the past year and a half as a result of the pandemic. So addressing the three-tier alcohol system is something that we have on our agenda to reduce burdens and make sure that we are not making it harder to do business for that industry that's been the hardest hit.
And what's the, I guess, what system would you envision replacing that, I suppose?
Hey, Ben, thank you for that follow-up. So the specific proposal is something that the Iowa Restaurant Association has worked on for a number of years. Right now, beer, wine, and liquor are all treated differently by Iowa law. What they envision is the system that wine distribution currently uses, which would allow a restaurateur to either go to a store like a Hy-Vee and buy their goods, or order them through a distributor. Right now, when it comes to beer, they can't do that. When it comes to liquor, they can't do that. And so it makes it confusing and complicated for restaurateurs to really kind of manage that. And during the pandemic, it just added administrative burden to the work that they were doing.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
More questions, please unmute yourself and state your media outlet and your name.
Wanted to give anybody else a chance before I asked another. If there's anyone else on here, I don't know.
Go for it, Ben.
Okay. Someone mentioned reducing the individual tax rate, which has been talked about a lot heading into this coming session. Kind of again, you know, what there have been various proposals on how to do that and what the fix would be, what the reduction would be, and how that would play out over the next few years. I guess does the chamber have a proposal or one of those proposals stand out as the preference of the chamber?
Thanks for that question, Ben. So in general, the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce has always been supportive of reducing taxes and regulatory burden. At the top of that list is the corporate tax rate. We're certainly encouraged by the conversations that we're hearing at the state level about talking about taxes. What we would like to see from a chamber standpoint is we're making sure that corporate taxes are part of that discussion. I don't think you can emphasize enough. Our corporate tax rate is 9.8%. It's among the highest in the nation. In fact, it's 46th in the nation. That means only 4 other states have worse corporate tax rates than we do. So we're really encouraged by the discussions. We have heard in news reports and through different chains that those discussions are happening. We look forward to hearing the governor's remarks next week and what that potentially looks like.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Anyone else with a question? This is your time. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I've got another if no one else does.
You go, Ben.
Great. A couple times also, you all discussed, making sure, the chamber's involved in efforts to draw down infrastructure funding to the area. I guess, are there any priority, projects or any, areas in which, that you think that there's a lot of need here? And how do you, propose to help the legislature through that process?
Thank you for that question. So infrastructure has been a common theme in our chamber agenda year after year. Infrastructure, when you look at things like broadband and roads, surface transportation, air transportation. All those factors are really important in making sure that we have the foundation for building a robust business community, and that continues today. As we look forward to the 2022 legislative session, we hope to see more discussions around infrastructure, broadband. If we learned anything during the pandemic, the importance of broadband to our lives from a business standpoint, from a social standpoint, from connecting us not only in our workplaces, but connecting us with family, friends, and loved ones is critically important. Automation from a workforce standpoint is important. And then we also need to talk about infrastructure when it comes to looking at potential placemaking investments going forward. We think that that's vitally important to the legislature to consider. And in 2022, we know that we were the OGs in placemaking back in the year 2000 with Vision Iowa and Iowa Great Places, and we think opportunities like that, investing in projects like that would certainly be a step in the right direction in growing our population and growing our workforce.
We do have time for one more question if anyone has one. Otherwise, we will close the press conference.
Hearing no one else, I think it was Scott who mentioned the chamber opposing what he called anti-workforce policies. Could someone, I guess, define what the chamber would consider an anti-workforce policy?
So let's flip that into what the chamber does support in workforce. We recognize that the pandemic has really exacerbated a workforce problem. Pre-pandemic, we were all talking about in the business community that workforce was our #1 priority. The pandemic, of course, has exacerbated that. When we are looking at the November 2021 jobs report, we're 2,500 workers less than we were pre-pandemic levels. As you can imagine, that creates a tremendous strain on a community that already identified workforce development as a priority. So when we're talking about workforce development, we want to make sure that we're making investments in K through 12. We want to make sure that we're funding Future Ready Iowa, we're looking at workforce training and economic development through community colleges. We're looking at programs like 260F, which help upskilling for existing employers. Those are all really important priorities that we feel that our legislators could look at to help address some of the workforce issues, because we know that is definitely a huge issue and challenge for our area's employers.
Wonderful. Well, with that, everyone, we appreciate you joining us for the press conference. What you'll want to do now, everyone should have received an email from GoToWebinar. If you're planning on attending the forum, you will just want to find that link. It came from customercare@gotowebinar.com, and you will join it, and that event will start at 12:30. So until then, we appreciate everyone attending, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.